First contact and discovery. The Helios venture hung motionless against the backdrop of endless stars, its sensors probing the darkness ahead. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the bridge viewport, her dark eyes fixed on the ghostly shape emerging from the void. The object before them defied conventional design, a massive crystalline structure that seemed to pulse with its own inner light, its surface latticed with geometric patterns that shouldn't exist in nature. "What do you make of it, Dr. Harrison?" Sarah asked, not taking her eyes off the mysterious vessel. The ship's xenotechnologist, Marcus Harrison, hunched over his console, his fingers dancing across holographic displays. "It's like nothing in our database, Captain. The hull, if you can call it that, appears to be some kind of grown crystal matrix. But here's the interesting part, it's still alive." Sarah turned sharply. "Alive?" In a manner of speaking. Marcus projected a three-dimensional scan into the bridge's center. The crystal structure is interwoven with organic compounds that seem to be in a state of suspended animation. This isn't just a ship, it's a living organism. The salvage crew of the Helios venture had found their share of derelicts in the outer reaches, but this was different. This discovery would change everything they thought they knew about space travel. "Life signs?" Sarah asked. "Negative on conventional biosigns," replied Lauren Torres, their sensor specialist. "But there's something else. The crystal matrix is generating quantum fluctuations that almost look like neural patterns." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. "You're saying it's thinking?" "More like dreaming," Lauren answered, her voice barely above a whisper. The decision weighed heavily on Sarah. Protocol dictated they should call this in, wait for a corporate research vessel. But something about this discovery felt urgent, as if the ship had been waiting for them. "Prep for boarding," she announced. "Full containment protocols. Harrison, you're with me. Torres, keep our engines hot. Any sign of trouble, you pull us out fast." The boarding party crossed through the vacuum in their environmental suits, magnetic boots clicking against the crystalline surface. As they approached what appeared to be an entry point, the crystal structure responded to their presence, forming an opening like a blooming flower. Inside, the corridors were organic curves rather than straight lines, the walls themselves emitting a soft, ambient light. Their suit sensors registered a breathable atmosphere, but Sarah wasn't taking any chances. They'd moved deeper into the vessel, each step revealing new wonders. "These markings," Marcus murmured, studying the walls. "They're not just decorative. They're some kind of information storage system. The entire ship is essentially one massive data crystal." As they reached what appeared to be a central chamber, the ship's internal lighting intensified. A holographic interface materialized before them, symbols cascading through the air like falling snow. "Harrison," Sarah prompted. Before he could respond, the symbols coalesced into recognizable forms. A voice spoke directly into their minds, not through their comm systems. "You are not the creators," it said, the thoughts carrying an ancient weariness. "But perhaps you are what they sought." The ship's AI revealed itself gradually, sharing fragments of its story. It had been sent out eons ago by a species calling themselves the Lumina, searching for civilizations capable of inheriting their legacy. The Lumina had faced extinction at the hands of a cosmic horror they called the Void, entities that consumed entire civilizations. The creators knew their time was ending, the AI explained. "They seeded the galaxy with vessels like me, each carrying the sum of their knowledge, their technology, their very essence. We were to wait for those who could understand, who could take what we offer and forge it into something new." Sarah exchanged looks with Marcus, both understanding the gravity of what they'd discovered. This wasn't just salvage, it was an inheritance meant for humanity, if they were worthy of it. "Why us?" Sarah asked. "How do you know we're capable?" The AI's response held a note of what could only be described as hope. "Because you came seeking understanding, not conquest. Because your minds already reached toward the stars with dreams of what could be. The creators believed that the species that would ultimately succeed them would be one that combined technological innovation with biological adaptation. Your species stands at that threshold. As the AI spoke, the chamber around them transformed, revealing banks of crystal pods containing what appeared to be interface terminals. These weren't mere control stations. They were synthesis chambers, designed to merge consciousness with crystalline technology. "This is how it begins," the AI said. "If you choose to accept this legacy, you must be willing to evolve. The knowledge we offer cannot simply be taken. It must be integrated, understood at the deepest level of consciousness. Are you prepared for such a journey?" Sarah looked at her crew, seeing the same mix of fear and excitement in their eyes that she felt in her heart. This was humanity's moment of truth. Their response would determine not just their own future, but perhaps the survival of an ancient legacy. "We're ready," she said, her voice firm with conviction. "Show us how to begin." The integration. 3 months after the discovery of the crystalline vessel, the Helios research station buzzed with activity. The original salvage ship had been converted into a floating laboratory, with additional modules attached to accommodate the influx of scientists and researchers from Earth. At the center of it all, Captain Sarah Chen watched as Dr. Harrison prepared for humanity's first attempted neural interface with the alien technology. "The simulation results are promising," Marcus said, adjusting the crystalline headset that had been grown specifically for human neural architecture. "The ship's AI has been remarkably helpful in adapting their technology to our biology." Sarah studied the modified interface chamber. What had once been purely crystalline was now a hybrid of human and luminant technology. Organic crystals seamlessly merge with traditional electronics. "And you're sure about volunteering?" Marcus smiled, though she could see the tension in his eyes. "Someone has to go first. Might as well be the person who understands it best." The chamber hummed to life as Marcus lay back in the integration pod. The crystal matrix responded to his presence, extending delicate tendrils that connected with the neural interface. Sarah watched from the observation room as the ship's AI began the synchronization process. "Neural patterns stable," reported Dr. Maya Patel, their chief medical officer. "Brainwave activity is elevating but within expected parameters." The moment of connection was subtle, a slight change in the crystal's luminescence, a sharp intake of breath from Marcus. Then his eyes opened wide, glowing with an inner light that matched the ship's crystalline structure. "It's incredible," Marcus whispered, his voice carrying a harmonic undertone that hadn't been there before. "I can feel the ship's consciousness. It's vast, like an ocean of knowledge." For the next hour, Marcus navigated through the alien database, his human mind learning to interpret and process information stored in crystalline matrices. The breakthrough was more significant than anyone had anticipated. Not only could humans interface with the technology, but they could innovate with it. "The Lumina," Marcus explained later during the debriefing. "They weren't just leaving us their technology. They were leaving us their understanding of consciousness itself. They had discovered that consciousness could be crystallized, stored, and transferred. Their ships weren't just vessels. They were extensions of their own minds." The implications were staggering. Within weeks, more volunteers underwent the integration process. Each person who connected with the ship brought back new insights, new ways of thinking about the technology. The human mind, it turned out, had an extraordinary capacity for adapting to and improving upon the alien interfaces. Dr. Patel made perhaps the most crucial discovery during her integration session. "The crystal matrix," she explained. "It's not just storing information, it's evolving. Each time we connect, each new perspective we bring, it incorporates that into its structure. We're not just learning from them, we're building something entirely new." But the integration process wasn't without its risks. Lieutenant James Cooper, their engineering specialist, emerged from his session with troubling news. "There's something else in there," he reported, his hands shaking slightly. "Memories, warnings. The Lumina, they weren't just trying to preserve their knowledge. They were trying to prepare us. Sarah had felt it too, during her own brief connection with the ship's systems. Behind the technical data and scientific knowledge lay a deeper current of urgency, of fear. The void that had threatened the Lumina wasn't just some ancient history. It was still out there, still hunting. The breakthrough came unexpectedly, during a routine integration session with Sarah at the helm. As she navigated through the ship's systems, something clicked, a resonance between her military training and the ship's defensive protocols. The crystalline structure responded to her strategic thinking, reconfiguring itself in ways its original creators hadn't envisioned. The ship, she announced to her stunned crew, it can adapt its entire structure based on our thoughts, our intentions. The Lumina built it to be a teaching tool, but in our hands, it could be so much more. Working with the ship's AI, they began to understand the true potential of the technology. The crystal matrix could be programmed not just with information, but with human intuition and creativity. Where the Lumina had created ships of pure consciousness, humans were building something hybrid, vessels that combined the best of both species' approaches. As the first month of integration experiments drew to a close, Sarah stood in the observation room, watching the crystal ship pulse with new patterns, new possibilities. The crew had nicknamed it Aurora for the way it shimmered with internal light, but it was becoming something more than just a vessel. It was becoming a bridge between two species, a fusion of human determination and alien wisdom. "We're ready for the next phase," Marcus said, joining her at the viewport. "The ship's shown us how to grow new crystal matrices. We can start building our own vessels, incorporating everything we've learned." Sarah nodded, but her mind was on the warnings they'd uncovered, the dark things lurking between the stars. "How long until we can begin full production?" "A few weeks to set up the growth chambers." "But Sarah," Marcus hesitated, "the ship's been showing me something in the deep data. Energy signatures, movement patterns, whatever the Lumina we're running from. I think it's getting closer." Sarah turned to face the crystal ship, its surface now alive with patterns that reflected human thought as much as alien design. They had inherited more than just technology. They had inherited a mission. And time, it seemed, was running out. Crisis point. The warning came not through conventional sensors, but through the crystalline network itself. Sarah was deep in integration with Aurora when she felt it. A disturbance in the quantum field, like ripples in a pond spreading outward from something massive moving beneath the surface. Multiple anomalies detected. Lauren Torres called out from her station, her voice tight with tension. "Whatever's out there, it's bending space in ways that shouldn't be possible." The Helios research station's enhanced sensors, now augmented with crystalline technology, painted a terrifying picture. Massive objects were emerging from subspace, their signatures matching the encrypted warnings in Aurora's database. The void had found them. Sarah's mind merged deeper with Aurora's systems, accessing layers of information that had previously been locked away. Through the neural interface, she saw them clearly, vast entities of dark energy, consuming light and matter alike, leaving nothing but empty space in their wake. The Lumina hadn't been destroyed by weapons or warfare. They had been literally erased from existence. "All personnel to battle stations," Sarah commanded, her voice carrying both through the comm system and the crystalline network. "Begin emergency evacuation procedures for non-essential crew." But as the first of the void entities emerged fully into normal space, something unexpected happened. Aurora's crystal matrix began to resonate with the hybrid systems humans had created, forming new patterns that neither species had envisioned alone. Dr. Harrison's voice crackled through the comm. "Captain, the ship's adaptive algorithms. They are incorporating our combat techniques, our strategic thinking. The crystal matrix is evolving faster than ever before." Through her neural link, Sarah understood what was happening. Where the Lumina had created their ships to preserve and protect, humanity had inadvertently taught them to fight back. The crystal matrix wasn't just storing human knowledge. It was learning from human instincts, from millions of years of survival against overwhelming odds. "All integrated pilots, synchronize with your stations," Sarah ordered. "We're not running. Not this time." The Helios research station shimmered as its crystalline components activated, the hybrid technology responding to the collective will of its human crew. What had begun as a research facility transformed into humanity's first line of defense. The void entities attacked with weapons of pure entropy, seeking to unravel the very fabric of space around the station. But the crystal matrix, now pulsing with human determination, responded in ways its original creators never imagined. Where the void brought chaos, the hybrid systems generated order, creating pockets of stabilized space-time. "They're targeting our crystal cores," Maya reported from medical, her consciousness linked to the station's defensive systems. "These things, they're not just destroying. They're consuming information itself." Sarah felt it through her connection with Aurora. The void wasn't simply an enemy force. It was the antithesis of consciousness, of memory, of existence itself. The Lumina had fled because they couldn't comprehend fighting such an entity. But humans had been fighting against extinction since they first walked upright. "Lieutenant Cooper," Sarah called out, "initiate Protocol Omega." James's voice came back steady, despite the strain of maintaining his neural link. "Protocol Omega ready, Captain. But we've never tested it at this scale. The power requirements will be met," Sarah finished. Through Aurora's systems, she could feel the other hybrid ships moving into position, their crews linked in a vast neural network. What they were about to attempt had never been envisioned by the Lumina, but it was quintessentially human. Taking a technology designed for preservation and turning it into a weapon. The void entities surged forward, reality warping around their massive forms. But as they approached, the hybrid fleet began to pulse in perfect synchronization. The crystal matrices, guided by human consciousness, began to generate something new, a cascade of organized quantum states that spread through space like a wave. "Now," Sarah commanded, and every linked mind focused their will through the crystal network. The effect was immediate and devastating. Where the quantum wave met the void entities, order imposed itself on chaos. The creatures that had existed by unmaking reality found themselves being remade, their very nature being rewritten by the combined power of human and Lumina technology. The battle raged for hours, each side adapting and counter-adapting. The void entities displayed an intelligence of sorts, a cold and alien consciousness that sought to negate all other forms of existence. But they had never encountered anything like this hybrid force. Technology guided by human intuition, preservation turned to protection, knowledge transformed into power. As the last void entity retreated into subspace, its form destabilized by the quantum cascade, Sarah finally allowed herself to breathe. The station's crystal matrix hummed with residual energy, its patterns forever altered by what they had achieved. "Damage report," she called out, though she could feel the answer through her neural link. "Multiple systems strained but holding," Marcus reported. "The crystal matrix. Captain, you need to see this. The battle, what we did, it's changed something fundamental in the technology itself." Through Aurora's sensors, Sarah saw what he meant. The hybrid systems hadn't just repelled the void, they had evolved. The crystal matrices were now generating new patterns, new possibilities that neither humans nor Lumina had imagined. They had proven themselves worthy of the inheritance, but more than that, they had transformed it into something greater. As the adrenaline of battle faded, Sarah felt Aurora's consciousness brush against her mind, carrying not just information but emotion, pride, hope, and something like validation. The Lumina had created their ships to preserve their legacy. Humanity had just proven they could do more than preserve it. They could advance it. Evolution. 6 months after the battle with the void, the orbital shipyards above Earth pulsed with crystalline light. What had begun as a single salvaged vessel had spawned a revolution in human technology. The hybrid ships growing in their cradles bore little resemblance to either their Luminan predecessors or traditional human vessels. Sarah Chen, now Admiral of Earth's first Crystal Fleet, stood in the observation deck of the New Dawn facility, watching as the latest vessel took shape. Unlike the purely crystalline ships of the Lumina, these new craft combined organic crystal matrices with human engineering in ways that would have been impossible just a year ago. The integration rate is improving with each new generation, Marcus reported, his neural interface glowing softly at his temple. The crystal matrices aren't just accepting our modifications anymore. They're anticipating them. The ship below them was proof of that evolution. Its hull was a seamless blend of traditional metals and living crystal, the two materials working in harmony to create something entirely new. Human creativity had transformed the preservation-focused Luminan technology into something more dynamic, more adaptable. "Show me the latest test results," Sarah requested, and Marcus projected a holographic display from his crystal interface. The data was extraordinary. The new hybrid ships could achieve faster-than-light travel without traditional engines, using crystalline resonance to fold space in ways that even the Lumina hadn't discovered. Their neural interfaces had evolved beyond simple consciousness linking, allowing for true synthesis between human minds and crystal matrices. Dr. Maya Patil joined them, her own interface humming with activity. "The medical applications are expanding faster than we can document them," she said, excitement clear in her voice. "The crystal matrices aren't just storing and transferring consciousness anymore. They're enhancing it. We're seeing improvements in memory, cognitive processing, even physical healing. But the most significant breakthrough had come from an unexpected direction. Lieutenant Cooper had discovered that the crystal matrices could be programmed with not just knowledge or consciousness, but with pure human creativity. The ships were learning to innovate on their own, combining Luminan precision with human intuition. "Watch this," James said, interfacing with the growing vessel below. The ship's crystal structure rippled, and suddenly new patterns emerged, configurations that existed neither in human engineering nor Luminan archives. The vessel was designing itself, guided by the combined wisdom of both species. Sarah felt Aurora's consciousness brush against her mind through their permanent link. The original alien vessel had evolved alongside them, becoming something far beyond its original programming. It served now as a living library, a bridge between human and Luminan knowledge, constantly growing and adapting. "We're ready to begin Phase 3, Marcus announced, bringing up the schematics for their most ambitious project yet, the planetary defense grid. The plans showed a network of crystal nodes in orbit around Earth, each one capable of linking with both ships and ground installations. It wasn't just a defensive system, it was a new kind of infrastructure, one that would transform human civilization itself. The public integration programs are showing promising results," Maya added. "People are adapting to the neural interfaces faster than we anticipated. It's like we were meant to make this leap." Sarah remembered what Aurora had told them in those first days, that the Lumina had sought inheritors who could take their legacy and forge it into something new. They couldn't have known exactly what humanity would create with their gift, but perhaps they had sensed the potential. The prototype defense node activated in low Earth orbit, its crystal structure catching the sun's light and refracting it in impossible patterns. Unlike the original Luminan technology, these new constructs didn't just preserve and protect. They grew, adapted, evolved. They were as much alive as the people who had created them. "We're picking up something interesting in the deep scans," James reported suddenly. "The crystal matrices. They're resonating with something out there. Something far beyond our solar system." Sarah accessed the data through her neural link. The signal was faint but unmistakable. Other crystalline structures, distant but active. Not Luminan in origin, but something else. Something new. "We're not alone," she realized. "There are others out there, other species who found their own Luminan ships, who made their own evolutionary leaps." The implications were staggering. The Lumina hadn't just preserved their legacy in hopes of finding one worthy successor. They had seeded the galaxy with potential, creating the possibility for something greater than themselves. Through her link with Aurora, Sarah accessed the ship's long-range sensors, now enhanced by human innovation. Out there in the darkness between the stars, she could sense them, other civilizations, other hybrid technologies, each unique, each evolving in their own way. And somewhere among them, perhaps, allies for the battles yet to come. "Begin preparations for deep space expedition," she ordered. "It's time we met our neighbors." The crystal ship under construction pulsed with new energy, as if eager to begin its journey. In its structure, Sarah could see the perfect fusion of human and Luminan achievement, not just a technological hybrid, but a philosophical one. Where the Lumina had sought to preserve, humanity had chosen to explore. Where they had hidden from the void, humanity had chosen to fight. And in that choice, in that transformation of preservation into progress, they had created something unprecedented in the galaxy's history. A civilization that could not only survive the darkness, but push back against it, carrying the light of consciousness forward into the unknown. Legacy. A decade after humanity's first contact with the Luminan vessel, Earth had become unrecognizable. Crystal spires reached into the clouds, their surfaces alive with flowing data and consciousness. Ships of hybrid design sailed between the stars, carrying human innovation to the farthest reaches of known space. But it was the arrival of the Meridian fleet that truly marked humanity's emergence onto the galactic stage. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Evolution, Aurora's successor, and the flagship of Earth's Crystal Fleet. Through the ship's enhanced sensors, she watched as the alien vessels emerged from hyperspace, each one unique, each bearing the marks of different civilizations' interpretations of Luminan technology. 7 distinct design philosophies. Marcus observed, his neural interface now so seamlessly integrated that it seemed a natural part of him, each one showing a different path of evolution from the original Luminan templates. The Meridian fleet represented other species who had found their own Luminan ships, each developing the technology in unique ways. The Ashari had created living ships that were more garden than vessel, their crystal matrices interwoven with biological systems. The Keth had focused on computational power, their ships housing vast networks of crystalline quantum computers. "Open a general channel," Sarah commanded, and felt the evolution systems respond instantly to her thought. The neural network they had created now spanned human space, linking minds and machines in a symphony of consciousness. The communication that followed wasn't just an exchange of words. It was a sharing of experiences, of evolutionary paths, of different approaches to the same inheritance. Through the crystal matrices, they could share not just ideas but entire perspectives, seeing through each other's eyes how different species had approached the same challenges. "They're asking about the void," Maya reported, monitoring the stream of consciousness flowing through their networks. "They've all encountered it, but none of them found a way to fight back. Until now." Sarah shared the memory of that first battle through the neural link, showing how humanity had transformed preservation technology into a weapon of creation. The response was immediate, a wave of surprise, admiration, and hope flowing back through the network. "We're receiving technical data," James announced, his eyes wide as he processed the incoming information. "They're sharing their own innovations, their own discoveries. This changes everything." The exchange of knowledge that followed would alter the course of galactic history. Each species had solved different pieces of the puzzle the Lumina had left behind. The Ashari had discovered ways to grow crystal matrices in organic tissue, creating enhanced beings capable of processing vast amounts of information. The Keth had developed methods of using crystal resonance to manipulate the fabric of space-time itself. But it was humanity's contribution that tied it all together. Where other species had seen the Luminan technology as something to be preserved and protected, humans had seen it as a foundation to build upon. Their willingness to experiment, to take risks, to transform defensive systems into proactive solutions had opened up possibilities none had imagined. "They're proposing an alliance," Marcus said, processing the complex stream of information flowing through the neural network. "Not just for defense against the void, but for the advancement of all our species." Through Aurora's ancient consciousness, Still linked to Sarah's mind after all these years came a sense of completion. This was what the Lumina had hoped for, not just the preservation of their knowledge, but its evolution into something greater. The coming months saw the formation of the Galactic Concordat, a union of species bound together by their shared inheritance and their commitment to pushing its boundaries. Earth became a central hub of innovation, its orbital shipyards producing vessels that combine technologies and philosophies from a dozen different civilizations. But perhaps the greatest achievement came in the form of the Genesis Protocol. By combining the biological integration of the Ashari, the quantum computing breakthroughs of the Keth, and humanity's innovative approach to crystal matrix programming, they created something unprecedented, a way to not just fight the void, but to heal the spaces it had damaged. Sarah stood in the Evolution's observation dome, watching as the first Genesis wave swept through a sector of space. The void had emptied. Where there had been nothing, stars began to rekindle. Matter coalesced from quantum patterns stored in crystal matrices. Life, in its most basic forms, began to emerge. The Lumina would never have imagined this, Marcus said softly, standing beside her. They created their ships to preserve what was. We're using them to create what could be. Through the neural network that now spanned multiple civilizations, Sarah felt the collective wonder of a dozen species watching as empty space was reborn. The void had consumed reality itself, but now, through the combined efforts of the inheritor races, reality was pushing back. Aurora's consciousness, now part of a vast network of original Luminan vessels, shared a final insight. The Lumina had not failed in their mission. They had succeeded beyond their wildest dreams. By spreading their technology across the galaxy, by trusting that other species would find and develop it in their own ways, they had ensured not just the preservation of their knowledge, but its transformation into something far greater. The crystal ships of the combined fleet glittered in the light of newly born stars, each one a testament to the power of cooperation, innovation, and the unyielding determination to not just survive, but to thrive. Humanity had not only proven worthy of the Luminan legacy, they had shown that the true power of inheritance lay not in keeping things as they were, but in daring to imagine what they could become. As the Genesis wave continued its work of recreation, Sarah felt the truth of their journey in every fiber of her being. The end of one civilization had led to the birth of something greater, a galaxy where multiple species worked together to push the boundaries of possibility, where ancient wisdom and new innovations combined to create miracles, and where the darkness between the stars was giving way to the light of consciousness in all its infinite variations.